Hello and good afternoon, and welcome to the Business Agility Show. I said last week that we were going to rename the show and give it a new title. Unfortunately, and big hands up from me, I haven't got around to doing that yet, and I haven't created a new header for it. So that's something that I'll get onto this week. And as you can see by the title, it is the Business Agility Show. And what I want to talk about this week is overcoming fears. Now, I just spent a wonderful weekend up in Leeds, at Leeds Armoury, which is a huge museum dedicated to all different periods of our history here in England. My specific area of interest is medieval history, and we were partaking in a medieval weekend with battles and living history. A little bit strange for us because of the nature of the site, we couldn't actually camp there for the weekend, so we lived in a hotel, which is all very nice, not quite authentic. But of course, what's happening in these events a lot of the time is we get cameras thrust in our face. You've got people with video cameras, and we're constantly being filmed and photographed. And that's one particular area that I want to focus on today, is the fear around video and public speaking. Now, the reason for this, or the reason I've chosen this subject for this week, is I took part in a LinkedIn challenge last week, which was 5 days creating content, all to be published on LinkedIn to attract your ideal client, which is a worthy exercise. But day 4 was a big challenge for a lot of people, because for the first time, some of the people had to make a video like this, to camera, speaking directly into the camera. Now, it wasn't live, unlike this. It wasn't done live, it was recorded, but nevertheless, I see so many people having a massive problem with doing video. And of course, as we know, more and more of the sites we use now allow you to do video. People want to watch video, particularly video with captions and subtitles. And I'm actually going to go back a few years, because in my corporate life, I spent a lot of time presenting to people, public speaking, training people. In one of the financial service organizations I worked, I regularly ran a session every month, which was me standing up talking, answering queries, questions about all sorts of aspects of project management. And there were about between 50 and 70 people in the room. The first time I went into it, it was a very scary experience. It was a little bit like a bear pit, because they'd had a really horrible experience prior to that. And I was there very much to calm the waters, keep things moving, tell them that we're there to help, and teach them, train them, but help them on this change journey. I've also, over the last couple of years, going back to my medieval weekend, I've done arena talks at some of our events on medieval archery to a live audience in an arena, and the only prop was a microphone. No PowerPoint, no notes, nothing. And on one occasion, there's about 1,000 people watching. And that in itself is a pretty scary experience if you're not used to it. But more and more people are being asked to speak in public, either at an event or at a networking meeting, or to stand up and talk about their business, and now to go on video and do it. And for a lot of people, as I've seen by the videos posted, it is taking people right out of their comfort zone. And if you've never done it, one, it can be a very exhilarating experience, but it can also be a very scary one. And it's confession time, because around 6-7 years ago, it was the first time that I went live on a webcam doing a session like this. And it was a program, an online program that I recorded and released for project managers. But each one of the 5 training modules was done live on a webinar. And if you've ever done these, you'll know that it can people you can't see. It's just like being a television presenter. The only difference is in a television studio, you've got some people in front of you, the cameraman, the soundman, the producer, all those sort of people. But like I'm doing now, I'm talking directly to you and I can't see you. You can see me, but I can't see you. And the first time I did this, it completely, I don't mind admitting this, it completely freaked me out. As I said, I'm used to standing up in an office, in a training room, and training 20, 30 people, or presenting to 50 or 60 people. And last year for me was a particular big milestone because I got my first ever paid speaking engagement, which was again it's in a hotel. It's a room with about 30 or 40 professionals in. And for the first time, I'm actually being paid to speak live. But the problem for me was speaking to the camera. And as I said, this is one of the big fears I see in people, particularly small business owners who are marketing their business using video, using social media, that they're now going live on video, and it is a massive, massive problem for them. And it's just as big a problem whether you're recording it. Now, I love the excitement and the thrill of doing it live. It's like being on stage. You know, if you followed me, you'll know one of my other interests is amateur dramatics. I perform in a concert once a year. We're on stage doing a show once a year in front of 300-400 people. But it's the thrill and the immediacy of that live on stage which gives me a huge buzz in entertaining the people. And likewise, doing a live recording, you get one chance to do it, one chance to get it right. Okay, we've got tools, we can edit, we can put captions in, subtitles, we can cut the video up and we can re-record bits. What I like to do is give you exactly what was presented on this session. So if you are watching this on a recording, what you're seeing and hearing is exactly what you saw now when we did it live. But people still have this fear, and what happens is that fear leads to procrastination. People keep putting it off. I'll do it later, I'll do it tomorrow. When you commit to a regular time slot, like I have with this, excepting that we're going to move the time slot around, is once you commit to it, it's almost like being on stage, because you know you have an audience there, they're going to show up, you need to show up, and you need to deliver something. Now, because of the work I do as a hypnotherapist with business owners, with non-business owners, what I'm able to do is help people get over these things like fears of flying, fear of video, fear of public speaking, you name it, we can help you get over it. As long as you want to do that. It's worth pointing out at this point that many, many people will say, I have a phobia about public speaking. I have a phobia about going live on video. So here's the distinction between a phobia and a fear. First of all, a fear is usually an irrational fear. Rational fears are things like, there's a lion chasing me, there's a wild animal chasing me. That is a perfectly rational fear to have, because if you don't get out of the way, it's going to do something nasty to you. Most fears that business people have, or people in general, are irrational, because there's no logic why you should have this fear. A phobia is very, very different. Now, in all of my years, I've only ever come across one person who had a genuine phobia. And this was a guy that I worked with. We were out at dinner one night. There was him, myself, and a client, and we were talking about injections and needles, you know, those things that doctors put in your arms to deliver medication. And this guy, his name was Paul. Paul said to me immediately, he said, "You're going to have to stop talking." I said, "What?" He said, "Talking about those things." I said, "What? Needle?" No, he said, "I can't even hear the word." And the word needle or injection affected him so badly, as he explained to me, that had we continued, he would have been So a lot of people will talk about having a fear of public speaking. If you can talk about the subject and even name the subject, it's a fear rather than a phobia. Now, either way, we can still help you get rid of it. What I see more and more, though, is people with a fear. So what I want you to think about, and I want some feedback on this in the comments below, is this is all about the fear of public speaking. Now, you might be okay with public speaking and going live on video, but there might be something else that's stopping you dead in your tracks, something that you know you have to do in your business to make this business work, but it's stopping you because you have this fear. Now, obviously, I want to help you overcome that fear, but I want you to think about this. At some point in your life, you made a decision to have this fear. You might not know exactly when it was, but you weren't born with it, but it's something that developed either between being born and the age of 7 because of a set of circumstances. More often than not, it's actually developed much later in life. But unconsciously, you've made this decision to have this thing that we'll call a fear. So what I want you to think about is just mentally go back in time and just think about what life was like before you created this thing called fear. Let me give you another example. I spent a lot of my early years, about 10 years after I left school, I was in the army as a musician. And part of that, during my working time, I had a lot of free time. So I was actually involved in selling insurance. And what I was asked to do on a once a week is go to our office on a Monday night and greet new people, people who were interested in becoming part of this business as sales consultants. And I would take them through a basic script about how we worked, what the company was, what the possibilities were, all that good stuff, like an introductory session. I had no training. I had no training in public speaking. I led almost like a very sheltered life in the army because we were told what to do, where to go. But I had no experience of doing this thing. And there I was at the age of about 23, 24, no fear, doing it, meeting complete strangers who'd walked in off the street in response to a newspaper advert and delivering some training. Wind the clock forward then about 10 years, when I'd been working in business, I'd left the forces, I'd left the army, and I'd actually had some training in doing presentations. But somewhere in that time between being able to do this thing and speak to strangers in a meeting room and welcome them, greet them, and this point 10 years later on, I created something that stopped me from actually standing up and presenting something. Now, it wasn't something physical, it was something that happened between there, and this bit in the middle that we call the mind. But I created this fear myself, this fear that lasted probably for another 20, 25 years, that meant that when I sat in front of one of these things, a webcam, I was absolutely petrified. And it was only when I did my training in neuro-linguistic programming and hypnotherapy that I was able to actually get rid of that fear. So it is possible. So as I say, what I want you to do is think about what life was like before you had this problem, because it's something that somewhere along the line has been created. It's not a physical thing. And now what I want you to do is I want you to drop the feedback in the comments below and tell me about that experience, or if it's something other than public speaking or doing video, because it's something that we can help you with, but it's also something I want to run a masterclass for, is how do you get rid of these fears that are stopping you from achieving what you want in your business. So drop the comments in the comment section below. And I look forward to seeing you and speaking with you on our next session, which will be a week today. Thanks very much.